Ireland's deadliest outlaws, heroes or villains? Join me as I dive into the dark world of Ireland's deadliest outlaws and see if I can uncover the truth behind their infamous crimes. From highwaymen to rebel leaders, outlaws have left an indelible mark on Irish history and culture. These larger-than-life figures have fascinated us for centuries, and their stories continue to captivate audiences to this day. But what drives someone to live outside the law, to defy authority and challenge societal norms? In this video, we'll delve into the world of Ireland's deadliest outlaws and explore the complexities of their lives. Living as an outlaw in Ireland was never easy. These individuals were often shunned by society, forced to live on the fringes of their communities. Many were driven by poverty, forced to turn to crime in order to survive. Despite the risks, many outlaws were able to evade capture for years, sometimes even decades. They developed clever disguises, cunning escape routes, and an array of skills that allowed them to stay one step ahead of their pursuers. But the authorities were relentless, using every trick in the book to track them down. The moral dilemmas surrounding the actions of outlaws were complex and multifaceted. On the one hand, they were criminals, responsible for heinous crimes that left innocent people dead or injured. On the other hand, many outlaws were driven by a desire for justice, fighting against an oppressive system that had failed them. In the centuries that followed, Ireland would produce some of the most notorious outlaws the world has ever known. From the infamous highwayman, Willie Brennan, to the rebel leader, Michael Collins, these men and women left their mark on Irish history. But what drove them to commit their crimes, and what were the circumstances that led them down a life of outlawry? One of the most fascinating cases is that of Patrick Donnelly, a highwayman who operated in 18th century Ireland. Born into poverty, Donnelly turned to crime at an early age, quickly becoming one of the most feared outlaws of his time. But what drove him to commit his crimes, and what ultimately led to his downfall? Another outlaw who made headlines during this period was the notorious James Freeney. A member of the Irish aristocracy, Freeney turned to crime after being disinherited by his family. But Freeney's life of crime would ultimately come to an end, and his fate would serve as a warning to outlaws everywhere. In 19th century Ireland, one outlaw would rise to become a national hero. Michael Collins, a member of the Irish Republican Army, would lead the fight for Irish independence, committing acts of violence and sabotage against British forces. But what drove Collins to take up arms, and what were the events that led to his untimely death? One of the most pivotal moments in the life of an outlaw is the moment when they're finally caught. For Willie Brennan, this moment came in 1819, when he was captured by British authorities and put on trial for his crimes. But what were the circumstances surrounding his capture, and how did Brennan react when faced with his own mortality? The lives of these outlaws were marked by drama and conflict, but they also reveal a deeper truth about Ireland's history and culture. They show us that, even in the darkest of times, there were individuals who were willing to challenge the status quo, to fight against oppression and injustice. In conclusion, Ireland's deadliest outlaws leave behind a complex and fascinating legacy. They were driven by a range of motivations, from poverty to a desire for revenge, and their actions were often marked by a sense of moral ambiguity. But despite their crimes, these outlaws have left an indelible mark on Irish history and culture. So, what do you think about Ireland's deadliest outlaws? Do you think they were heroes or villains? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to learn more about Ireland's fascinating history, be sure to check out my other videos.